Listen, you guys know what this is all about, right? Right? What's it all about? Spurgey?
Hard work and having fun.
That. This is about winning.
And welcome into Judd's Hockey Show, where this is about effing winning hockey games. And the Wild does it again tonight, improving to 9-3-0 with a very convincing 5-2 win over the feeble Arizona Coyotes. But that's not the point. Zulgad and Declan Goff. Declan, the point is this. The Coyotes stink. That's great. But I mean, how many times have we seen the Minnesota Wild in the past play a team that stinks and make it the game far more difficult than it needs to be, let up for a period, let up at the end of the game? I'm going to give you two things tonight that I think encapsulate the new Wild, the new culture, to use Patrick Royce's favorite word.
Yep.
Just over 2 minutes left in tonight's game. It's 5-2, and the game's done. The Foligno Fiala, who had a goal, his first goal since opening night in Anaheim, and 3 points tonight, line comes out, and Foligno works his ass off, gets up a head of steam, brings the puck into the Coyote zone, forechecks like crazy, keeps the puck there, and that line creates scoring chances when the game is basically done. Then the Coyotes come back down, and Kaapo Kahkonen playing net tonight. The Coyotes, Kraus gets a great chance to score, and Kaapo, and again, it could have been 5-3. Kaapo makes a phenomenal save, and in fact makes two towards the end, and the defense is basically selling out not to give up a goal. Between that, the speed at which this team plays, there are certain messages being sent that I'd like to get to as well. Mm-hmm. But what a difference in watching this team. And I know it's 12 games in, so small sample size alert. I get all that. But how refreshing is this to see this team look so different and just flat out handle a team that they should without any bleeping drama?
I think that's the biggest thing that I take away when you play a team like Arizona, who's awful. Yeah. Arizona is not good. You should absolutely control the pace and control the entire game, and they did that tonight from the start, from the jump. Arizona is going to be pretty bad this year, and I think number one, my other biggest takeaway is watching this game on TNT, which I love watching a different broadcast. It was very interesting to hear what was clearly said, because when national TV, this happens in football a lot because obviously it's national broadcast and you have different broadcasters that are coming in and out week in, week out. And it was very clear, and you tweeted this, and I was noticing it, and I'm guessing a lot of Wild fans noticed this too. Evison clearly made it clear to this broadcast team that this is a team effort. This is about having a voice. Everyone here can step up. Everyone here has a say. This is not about individual success. It piggybacks off his comments from the last game out at home that said, who cares about individual success? If we're getting 2 points, that's all I care about. The broadcast talked about not extending shifts from individual players.
Yep.
It's kind of funny because it can be very easy, I think, as a broadcast crew to crutch to the Parise and Suter era. And then when you look at this Wild team and not knowing who is Duhaime? What's Duhaime? You know, I'm sure that even the pronunciation could be correct. What's Nico Sturm? What the hell? Who is that? Dmitry Kulikov? Wasn't he with the Jets last year? It could have been very easy for a broadcast crew to look at this team and say, but remember Zach and Ryan, and now they're in a transitional period. Nuh-uh. No. This team's winning games, and also the bravado of this team is completely different. It's a completely different 180. The broadcasters note it, and I know sometimes the coaches obviously tell them that in their one-on-ones and the availability, but it was clear on the broadcast tonight that it was funny hearing the subtle shots basically at the former Wild versus this current group of the Wild.
Yeah, I love it. Dean has clearly taken the gloves off, and this must be an indication of the hell the Parise and Suter in particular put this team through, because these last two games, Dean's post-game comments after the Wild beat Parise and the Islanders on Sunday, and then tonight with what they shared with the TNT crew, which I thought did an outstanding job. The gloves are completely off, and it's great. And you know what? The best part was when they talked about the shifts now being shorter, which is a direct shot to Zach extending the shift, trying to, and I put this in air quotes, trying to get Foligno the hat trick in Vegas last season. They quantify it as well by coming out and telling the TNT crew, one reason why we think we've had so much success tying those games up late is because guys are still fresh because they haven't overextended themselves. So it's quantified as well. It's great. The thing about this team too, and I mean, this is not the culture change. This is the physical change. My God, how fun is it to watch the speed of this team? Like, the thing about it is, so the Coyotes have a bunch of vets. The Coyotes are basically what the Wild could have been worst case. Like, they've got a bunch of names. They're names that we've heard. But they're slower now and they're sort of disjointed. I mean, Kessel's there. Don't forget, Paul Fenton tried to obtain Phil Kessel from the Penguins for Zucker before Guerin successfully traded Zucker to the Penguins. So they're sort of just like slow and plodding, and they got names, but they're really not that good now. And you watch the Wild go, and oh my God, they go, go, go. It's just great. It's so much fun to see a team that can play at pace. And this team can play at pace. And that is why, to track back to keeping their shift shorter, that is why that's so imperative. Because they play at pace, you don't want a guy trying to say, well, I'll stay out here, right?
Yeah.
So all of this actually works together. And my God, Eureka, when things work together, when there's chemistry, when people listen to the coach, amazing what the team can do, Declan. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Gus Austin right here on our YouTube channel. And by the way, if you're consuming us near midnight, thank you. We appreciate you guys. Judd Zulgad, Declan Goff here on Score North's YouTube channel. If you want daily Minnesota Wild conversations or close to it, hit that subscribe button. Ant Edwards and the Timberwolves got beat by the Golden State Warriors, but a big performance from Ant and Andrew Wiggins on a revenge tour. I'm sure we'll talk about that tomorrow with Darren Doogie Wolfson. So if you're looking for Timberwolves therapy, not right this second, I promise you we will have some locked and loaded tomorrow.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for,
it's not therapy because anybody like Mackey who's still on that train deserves a slap upside the head. That's what they're going to get tomorrow.
It's true. Hit the subscribe button for Minnesota Wild, Timberwolves, and bonus Vikings, and even Minnesota Twins conversations right here on the Score North YouTube channel. To your point about average shift length, this is from Natural Stat Trick. So looking at players, they track their shift lengths basically, and Kaprizov, Zuccarello, Ek. Their average shift length was over a minute tonight. So Kaprizov at 113, Judd, Zuccarello at 110, Eriksson Ek at 105. Everyone else in that 50 to 55 second kind of little sweet spot there. I mean, they also track what's tracked as long shifts, and basically only 3 players took shifts over long shifts of 4 times tonight. So Ryan Hartman, John Merrill, and Dmitry Kulikov all had shifts that were extended tonight.
And
but it's
different
different with defensemen because they're going to log longer minutes, and obviously too, it's indicative on penalty kills. So there's situational things that go there, but there is something about having fresh legs. Legs feed the wolves, right? That's the old Herb Brooks metaphor. That Parise and Suter more than Parise, I will say. Suter would stay on the ice for the entire 60 minutes, I think, if it was up to him. But the unselfishness of this team, and that's why, look at the complete 180 overhaul of the leadership of who wears the letters in that room. Jared Spurgeon, a quiet leader, right? A quiet leader who goes about his business in a very professional way. Not a barada guy, not a guy that's going to get in your face by any means. But definitely not an overly confident person. You have someone like Marcus Foligno who lifts everyone else up in that room. And if you mess with anyone, he's going to be the first guy to deal with you. And then Matt Dumba, who clearly is the hype man. Like if you just want to look at the 3 guys of who's the most embracive and who is the most someone that lifts up everyone in that room, it's Matt Dumba, and he has taken a humongous step forward. And there was plays tonight that were classic Matt Dumba, right? There was 2 gaffes at the blue line.
Oh, the breakaway,
his breakaway goal from Andrew Ladd that scored that goal completely on Dumba as well. But those type of miscues from Dumba, which I'm sure drive some fans, and obviously too probably coaching even crazier, are worth it for the other things that he brings to this team. And I don't get too upset about situations like that where he misses a puck against the wall or his turnover leads to this happening the other way, because he brings so many other positive things. And he is now empowered. Like Matt Dumba, I think, has been empowered for the last few years, so I'm not trying to say it's flipped a switch overnight from game 1 of this season in 21-22. But there isn't this other weirdness in the room. And that's also, I think, why you've always said for a long time, that's why it unfortunately didn't work with the core supplemental players of Nino, Coyle, Zucker, Granlund, because they were good players on the ice, but they never really took leadership roles. They never really took this next step up, and they weren't allowed to, and they didn't feel empowered to do so.
Yep.
And fans loved them, and that's fine. I'm still a fan of this team, and I loved watching some of those guys too. Yeah, but they never took that next other step, right? And it's different with this group. You can see it all over.
Yes, and because the problem was they were young and they weren't empowered, and they were good players, but there were so many locker room lawyers. That's the problem. You had, they talked about Koivu, longtime captain, but then Pang immediately said, and he was told this clearly, it was time for a change. There were so many people in that locker room who basically took the life from those guys. And then they became, that young core eventually became their own problem. And so, this is just the Foligno thing to me too. What's so impressive there is this one. So his first year here was a disappointment for sure. Starting with his second year, he improved a lot, and you could tell that there was a lot of there as far as his ability to lead. But what makes this so impressive now is they finally, with Parise and Sudergran, gave him an A, and his play has again responded to it. Like, it would be one thing if Marcus, because he's a good guy, he can lead, he's a smart guy. But if he was playing okay, it'd be like, okay, that's good. But his aggressiveness, his abilities, and the fact that he is putting up points, a goal tonight, the fact that he is basically walking the walk as well, statistically, is so important, because he has now accelerated his play to a point where it's got to be incredibly easy to follow him because he's good. He's really good now. And this is everything this team is able to do. Again, it's early, but everything that they do is really fun to see, because from the speed of this team to the attitude to, I love the fact that Dean is taking shots without taking shots. He's taking shots. I love that, because he's making it very clear. Number one, these guys made my life hell. And number two, the difference here is so apparent. And look, the credit there starts with Bill Guerin. Bill Guerin's the one that looked at Suter and said, I could keep him, but I'm not going to. Parise was easy. Like, Parise can't skate anymore. He's just slow. Buying out Zach financially hurts, but that was a slam dunk, right? It would have been very easy to say, hey, Ryan's paid a lot. We might as well keep him. Can still play. But you look at the difference with this team attitude-wise. You look at the fact that I contend this. Jared Spurgeon-Dex has been good for a long time, but I think without Suter there as I don't know what the word is, but to bog him down, I got to play with Jared. Jared's my guy. I got to play with him. The Goligoski-Spurgeon pair, to me, frees up Spurgeon to be the quote-unquote star of that pairing. And I think he's improved himself. So, there's just so many things. And Dex, I think the last thing that we had talked about as far as being a little bit skeptical was the fact that up until the last 2 games, Kaapo had played one game in goal, and it was Cam Talbot. Well, the last 2 games now, Kaapo's played, got some confidence. I have very few complaints right now with
Mm-mm.
how this team is going about its business as far as its play and as far as the approach to that play.
Yeah, I think Kaapo Kahkonen, for him to get the second start against a lowlier Coyotes team was the right call.
Yep.
Look, you're gonna have to play this guy for two reasons. Number one, to not burn out Talbot, and to figure out if he's indeed the backup goalie that can spell him and also can steal a game for you here and there. When you play a team like Arizona, who is not very good, which is the evidence is right in your face after the 60-minute performance you saw here on Wednesday evening. Kaapo Kahkonen delivered for you. He absolutely delivered, and you needed to see that. You get Vegas tomorrow. It's going to be a second of a back-to-back. The Wild are going to be a little bit gassed, and it obviously advantaged Vegas. That'll be obvious, but you want your best players in the ice there. Cam Talbot's clearly the better goaltender, so I respected the decision to go from Kaapo back-to-back starts, and then giving Cam Talbot the game against Vegas. You needed to see two very strong performances from Kaapo because I am still wary that he is indeed a backup goalie that you can trust, but he's still young. You know, you don't want to basically give up on one. You don't want to turn into a Darcy Kemper situation, or a similar situation to that, I should say, where Darcy was given up on at a young age. He actually, ironically, goes to Arizona, kind of resurrects his career, and now he's the number one goalie on what you could make is the best team in the NHL, or has the best odds to win the Stanley Cup, maybe, in the Colorado Avalanche. So for Kaapo to come out, I think, and play a big game tonight, a lot of guys needed to step up. I know we've been on a nice little soapbox here of this new age Wild, but a lot of guys, I think, needed a performance like this tonight, including my guy, Kevin Fiala, too, who was brilliant once again and finally gets rewarded with the box.
And he's been playing well, too.
I mean, a beast tonight. And obviously, I'm his number one fan, and I won't shy from that. But
I like that line, Declan. I like that line.
He was once again phenomenal tonight. You noticed him the entire time.
Yep. Oh, he's been, I think, really good for how long? 3 or 4 games?
Yeah. Very strong.
He's not been scoring goals, but I think this line, I love the fact that they put him with Ek and Foligno, who are both good players, but those two guys work so hard, you have to work. And the great thing is, yes, he has to work, but look at the goal tonight. I mean, that's a phenomenal goal. That is a goal score. That's a beautiful goal. That's all hand-eye coordination.
Goal of the year,
talent.
honestly.
Yeah, it's great stuff. But that's the thing again, too, Dex, that's so important. We're no longer watching a team where I have to play with this guy. Oh, I'm not on the first line. What's going on here? Kevin is? That's not fair. That's not fair. You know, Jordan Greenway comes back tonight, and he was plugged in exactly where Jordan Greenway should be right now, the fourth line. Previously there would have been locker room lawyers telling the head coach, "Oh, I think he's got to do this, and I need to do that." And you're telling, I mean, that's what they're telling us. They are without naming names saying that, and instead they have the freedom, and they should, to say, Kevin Fiala, let's try him here. Oh, hey, it works, right? So I think the fact that Kevin got a goal and 2 assists as well is a big deal, and that's great. But I also love the fact that for the past 3 or 4 games with that line, you could see this coming. It's not like, because the old Wild would have been this. Kevin Fiala would have played okay, not great. And then tonight against a bad team, turned on the Jets, right? Not what happened. And that's what I appreciate.
No doubt. And even just looking at the minutes tonight, Kevin Fiala, there was, let's see here if I do quick math, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 other forwards, I should say, played more minutes than tonight. He only logged 14:03, according to Natural Stat Trick tonight. Yep. So only 14 minutes tonight. Yep. But Corsi-wise, he was a beast. He was 19 for 6 in terms of Corsi for and Corsi against. So that means he was on the ice for 19 shot attempts for versus 6 allowed. He obviously was creating chances up and down the ice. And when you put him with a guy, basically with Joel Eriksson Ek and Marcus Foligno, who are a little bit more defensively responsible. Look, Fiala's getting more empowered on the penalty kill. We love that. I love that opportunity for him. But he can be a liability defensively. No one's going to shy away from that. But for him to be with Eck, I think, says a lot about what they trust in him and how that can bring the most out of him. And Eck is going to be able to kind of make up for some of those warts that Fiala does, just pulling up what he's been able to do so far this season with Joel Eriksson Ek in terms of Corsi for percentage. I mean, all right, here's what I got here as I pull it up. So
I was just going to say quickly, for those who don't know, explain Corsi for.
So Corsi for is all shots attempts and all shots allowed. So Corsi for being all shots attempts, shots on goal, shots attempted, shots blocked.
Sure.
Corsi against being all those things but allowed. So 50% being completely average. So you obviously want to be over that. There's no necessarily possession metric yet with statistics, but if you're out shooting opponents when you're on the ice, that's the closest thing we can get in terms of possession metrics, right? So far this season, Kevin Fiala has spent 56 minutes with Joel Eriksson Ek, and he has a Corsi for per 60 of 75.3.
Wow.
So that means when those two are on the ice over a 60-minute period, they are out shooting in all attempts 75% of the time. So when they're on the ice, they are out shooting opponents 75 to 25%, which is insane. That's not sustainable, but it's insane in a limited sample size because we've already seen how well they are together. Yep. And we've said for years, or not years, the last 2 years, because Kevin's only been here for a little bit. I know time flies and time goes quicker than we think it does, but Fiala needs the center. You put Kirill Kaprizov with not necessarily anyone, but you put him with Frederick Gaudreau and it's fine because he's Kirill Kaprizov, right? Kevin needs someone that's more responsible. Kevin needs someone that can help him out a little bit more to elevate his game. Yes. And those numbers right there speak everything you need to know about what those two can do on the ice together.
Yep, and Ek is good. He's not great. He's good, but he also works his butt off, right? And I think that has a positive impression on Kevin. And so, the chemistry of this line, I absolutely love. I think it's great because there's no doubt about the fact that Fiala is the most talented player on the line with Ek and Foligno, Declan. But that being said, he's also challenged to work his ass off, and he can do it. And so, this is all about what? Pushing the right buttons. And when you have veteran players who get in the way of that and eye roll, and if somebody makes a mistake, they're like, this isn't working, and they can't believe that they're not playing more. It's hard to push the buttons when you have players, no matter how good they might be, defeating that. And that's all gone now. And so you can experiment. You can put guys together. You can break them up. Some of it I like. Some of it I might not like. But it all comes from a place of trying to do the right thing and not trying to make people happy, right? How long was this all about? I mean, Dex, look at the defensemen tonight, okay? First of all, the third pairing of Kulikov and Merrill was damn good. Merrill had 2 assists. Kulikov had a goal. John Merrill played 18:01. Kulikov played 18:19. The first pairing of Spurgeon and Goligoski, Spurgeon played 18:32 and Goligoski played 18:54. That is unbelievably close. Think about that. If Suter's on the ice tonight, he's playing 24 to 25 for sure, right? So basically your 2 first pairing defensemen played approximately the same as your 2 third pairing D-men, and Brodin and Dumba played 22:49 and Brodin played 21:04. So they actually played the most, and they're really good, but that's your second pairing. So these are small things, but they're huge. They're absolutely huge because they are so drastically different than what this team had established because certain people had established it before. And this is the difference. This is the difference between why does the Wild look different? Why does the Wild look like they're cohesive now? Why does this team, which appears to be pretty damn good, why can they go play a bad team and truck them? As opposed to, escaped with a narrow victory against the Coyotes because in the third period, they essentially took a nap. So, yeah, I mean, this is just such an interesting, it's starting to play out now, and it's such an interesting conversation to me to go through the differences in how things are done now and why that has had such a positive impact on this team.
Yeah, you need basically a bunch of different defensemen who can roll here. I mean, when you lost Ryan Suter and you lost Carson Soucy and Ian Cole, don't sleep on Ian Cole either. That you basically lost 3 guys who were eating up, you could probably say close to 50% of your minutes last season, I would think, if math serves me right there. And that's hard to replace. And Alex Goligoski is basically diet Ryan Suter
I really like him.
for a 1-year deal.
Yep.
You had to overpay for him to come back home. And if he wants to stay here long term, I'm encouraged by that. I wouldn't pay him the same figure again. But he's been a godsend.
Yep.
Dmitry Kulikov and John Merrill. Merrill had a rough game on Monday. Who was here on Monday the other night? At home in St. Paul on Sunday, against the Islanders. Merrill didn't look too great. You and I are both like, oh, okay, here's John Merrill, right? Here's your third pairing defenseman who's gonna have a brutal game every once in a while. But in general, him and Kulikov have played very well. And Kalen Addison's in the wings, ready to roll. But it's kind of a fun decision to make. They're good problems to have where I would like to see Kalen Addison up here playing 13, 14 minutes a night, especially if you're going to have 3 defensive pairings, Judd, that roll very evenly. It's not like that defensive pairing's only going to play 9, 8 minutes a night. If that was the case, then I would say keep Addison down there. Yep. But these are good problems to have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because now you got basically John Merrill and Kulikov who can round out your third defensive pairing, and they're not liabilities. It's not a situation where you're just throwing guys out there to log on minutes. These guys are actually contributing.
Yes, and the thing that I like, so it's not that I think Merrill's a great player, but what I like is if you're going to play him, he plays, right? So that's what I like. I like the fact that they basically say, hey, dude, if we consider you to be good enough to play, you're going to play. All of these things are different. All of these things are drastically different from the way things were here. And you now earn your time. But if you earn your time, you're going to play. You're not going to be like, well, dude, come off the ice and don't play as much because I need to play more. And so it's just these, it's in some ways subtle, in some ways not, but it's so important. So they say, if you are going to be a third pairing defenseman on this team now, Declan, you're going to play. And it's not going to be, sorry about that. You're going to play, man, well, third periods come around, we're going to get you on the ice for a couple, and that's it. So it's incredibly important. I do want to get to Kaprizov because he scored a goal tonight and reached a milestone. But before we do that, I want to plug our friends, or my friends in particular, Livia Weight Control Centers, because, well, let's just say that 5 weeks ago, I went there. I went to the one in Tonka for the first time, 6 Twin Cities locations, Declan Goff. Weighed 240 pounds, which was far too much. And I don't know if you can see it on the shows or not, but the face is thinner.
I noticed.
I've lost some weight there.
You were growing out that beard. It was kind of hiding it a little bit.
I know, but now I've got the beard trimmed up.
Right.
And I weighed in last Thursday, and I was down to 218 pounds. So I believe if you do the math on that, that's about 21 pounds down. I weigh in again tomorrow. The weight is going to continue to come off. I'm going to get to hopefully 200 pounds, and then I'm going to stay there. And if this sounds good to you, if you think to yourself, well, my clothes don't fit great, I'd like to be like Judd and lose weight. Here's the best part. Limited time offer. First 10 weeks are free. First 10 weeks are free. So I'm 5 weeks in, 21 pounds down. Livia.com or 855-GO-LIVEA. Livia.com or 855-GO-LIVEA. Check them out. Tell them Score North and Judd told you to do so. Kirill Kaprizov tonight. 30th career goal, Declan Goff. He did it in 67 games. Just for the context, because TNT showed the graphic. He surpassed the previous fastest, not surprisingly, Marian Gaborik, 30 goals in 93 games. The rest of the list, Zucker, 30 goals in 106 games. And then Pasquale Dupuis
Oh my God.
is the last guy that TNT showed on the list, 30 goals in his first 135 games. I have been very encouraged by what I've seen of Kaprizov for the past 3 or 4 games as well. How about you?
Yeah, I think just one shot on goal tonight.
I got it right here. Hold on a second. I thought, well, he missed the net from the slot early on,
right,
and could have scored there too. Shots on goal for Kirill Kaprizov. Yes, credit with
just
shot
one
on
shot
goal.
on goal, which
Yeah, I'd like to see more than that.
We'd love to see more shots, but I mean,
he was passing a lot.
Just when you even, because I know Minnesota Wild PR also tweeted out this list. When you look at the fewest games to reach 30 goals of active players, so Alexander Ovechkin did it in 43 games. Patrick Laine did it in 55. Brock Besser in 60. Austin Matthews 61. Malkin 63. Sidney 63. Kirill Kaprizov 67. This team has been starved for natural goal scorers like this. This is also and it's another conversation in a conversation of why them not figuring out a way to extend Kevin Fiala this year is going to bite them. Because Kevin is going to possibly have another very Kevin Fiala season, and he's going to outprice them. He's going to outprice them easily. And maybe he takes a team-friendly deal, maybe. But if I'm Kevin Fiala and I've gone 2 straight summers without the long-term deal, I'm not saying screw you, but I'm also going to say I'm going to listen to offers. And I know he's still an RFA next summer. So luckily, the Wild control his rights, and that's a big thing. But offer sheets still exist in this league. And if another team wants to do that and the Wild will be forced to offer that or give him away, basically, that's another conundrum for the Wild. That's a card against them. But Kirill, to your point, yes, he's been looking more and more like himself. He's been mostly fine this season. I mean, he's shooting the puck a ton. It just, you can tell other teams have done their due diligence on taking areas away from him to create highlight reel goals. And I think that's what was so confusing to me. Was it opposition, taking away those chances? Was that Kirill not feeling as confident to take shots and take opportunities to shoot more from high danger situations? And by the way, he wasn't shooting in high danger situations as much early on this season than he was last season. So that's why the goal differential was a little bit down. But he draws so much attention. He does so many things that if he's not scoring as many goals right now, I'm okay with it. Like, it doesn't bug me. But in general, this is why, like, when you play a team like the Coyotes where Kevin Fiala gets on track and Kirill gets on track and everyone gets on the score sheet, it's kind of like what the doctor ordered. It's exactly what you needed to get everyone back on track.
Yeah. One shot on goal is not enough. He did have, as I said, Kaprizov had a chance. I think it was early in the first period from the slot. He just missed. So that technically is 2 shots at least attempted. 1 shot on goal is not enough for him, but I like where his game is going, and he's beginning to look more comfortable. And hopefully the next thing is more shots. Although I think he did start to shoot more as well. The goal he scored was a thing of beauty. The Zuccarello passing back and forth, I think it was on a power play behind the net, and then he comes out and as Pang said on the TNT telecast, when he does that, he moves so fast you can't stop him. Like, he's just bang like that. The last thing I want to mention is this: Turner's telecasts really impressed me. I'm not sure about you, but the studio show, I mean, we both like Biz. Turner's stuff impresses me. Darren Pang is great. They had Jen Botterill between the benches. She's great. Brendan Burke did play-by-play. He's really good. I like what ESPN is trying to do with programming and like doing more shows and stuff. But I think for flat out game coverage, Turner is better right now, which I am shocked by. Like, I thought it would take them some time because they have not done the sport before. But my God, I think they have come out and been outstanding. For the most part, I think the majority of the people that they have hired have been great. I am really impressed by what they've done.
I love this. This is what drove me so crazy. It still drives me crazy to a degree about the NHL, and I love that it's a cult following sport. I love the people that consume the NHL want great coverage, and rightfully so. I don't look down on someone who thinks that, but I do look down on hockey fans who get upset why ESPN doesn't talk about you or why they don't talk about you in the same vein as the NBA, because you're really not that interesting. And the people that talk about you aren't that interesting. And that's what happened when you were locked in to NBC Sports for all those years. OLN, which you know, Versus Network, for God's sakes. Like, the boneheaded decisions that this league made to market itself from a national side is baffling to me. I want a 30 for 30 short just on those decisions because it's so confusing to me. So when you have TNT, though, they got money, and I understand the reasons.
That's why they did it.
It was in your wallets, but seeing Biz tonight, basically, I mean, drop a quote-unquote swear word there at the beginning of the telecast, and he says, how is being an asshole getting the best out of people around you? Obviously talking about the Ducks general manager that was like that stepped out. Bob Murray that stepped out of his position today.
Yep.
I love that. This league is always walking on eggshells over every damn
that
thing.
Studio show's not. It's great.
And they need that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, but I mean, I think everything that they do surrounding the game is the best right now. So like the ESPN has the more product, like they show more and clearly, and their ancillary programming is fine. But the studio show, the play-by-play, the game coverage, Turner leads right now. I mean, I just think it's great. And just the stuff that they isolated on tonight was outstanding. It was just what they did some packages of certain plays. Oh, I think one was the Wild penalty kill or their defensive responsibility. It was really, really interesting. It was really good. It was fast, but it's the type of thing you don't get. So yeah, kudos to them. I don't know exactly why they were showing a Coyotes Wild game. I might have gone after a Kraken Wild game or a Kings Wild game.
Well, I will say
that was fun to watch.
I don't think this was like one of two games on tonight, right? Like
there were 3 games around the league tonight, and they are intent on doing West Coast games. So that's why. But I'm just saying.
That is probably a big reason. But I mean, yeah, I love it. I mean, I think it's the Crease or the Point. I forget the exact one that's on every Thursday with John Butchergrass and Emily Kaplan and Kevin Weeks, and I love that stuff. I mean, that's great for the league. They need this. I think that's my biggest thing is why is hockey always never respected as much as other leagues? Because you're not interesting and you're not on the major networks either. Yep. And this kind of marketing and this kind of ideas, like getting Charles Barkley on to talk about hockey, which did on opening night, I love that. Biz is the person that can rise it. Like Biz to me, who is involved with Barstool and does Spit and Chicklets and does all these great stuff.
Yep.
He's kind of like, basically, if and they'd be smart to do this too, and if NFL marketing and PR is watching this, it'd be empower Pat McAfee. I mean, he's kind of their Pat McAfee, where he will say whatever the hell comes into his mind. If the NFL is smart, they would put Pat McAfee not just on his own little thing, but on ESPN or on CBS or on Fox in a pregame or a halftime show. But they're terrified of him. Where Biz, this is exactly what this sport needs. They need people like that who are brash.
And I think the TNT studio show, I don't think that this is a hot take or going out on a ledge. Better when Gretzky's not there.
I agree.
Wayne sort of brings it. Like he's Wayne, and so they defer to Wayne. And Wayne doesn't have that much to say. I think that show with Biz, Anson Carter, and Tocchet is really good. And Tocchet, who I thought was sort of slow to start off with. Yeah, he'll say stuff now. I mean, he's got some fire to him. The key is what you just said. Hockey people ordinarily don't like to show that, and if you can get that from them, it can be really good. So, but that was an impressive game. Yes, the Coyotes stink, but there were a lot of things that we just discussed that I think are takeaways from what the Wild did that just show how different this team is constructed and looks. And I really don't think it's short term. Like it doesn't feel like it's hey, in 10 games, they'll be back to being the old Wild again, right? It feels like it's a sustainable model. They will slump. I totally get that. But they're not going to slump because guys are like, well, I'm not playing enough, so bleep this. Just refreshing to see. That's my my last thought, my final thought.
I love it too. This team is a lot different. They're off to their second best start in franchise history so far. This has been phenomenal for them to see. They've been winning games when things aren't working. Their special teams isn't great. Cam Talbot hasn't been phenomenal. Kirill Kaprizov and Fiala haven't up until tonight been scoring a lot of goals, but they're still finding ways to win. This is what you need. Liam McHugh and also the intermission report were talking about how important it is to be in that top 8 around Thanksgiving time. We're 2 weeks from Thanksgiving as of recording right now, and if you're in that top 8, the odds that you are in the playoffs are very, very high. And right now, the Wild have the third most points in the NHL, I believe, through the first dozen games or so. So they're sitting pretty here. You need to make hay against these bad teams. Get off to a hot start. This is good. Look, a swoon season, which tends to happen in January, and was more of a Mike Yeo special. This team will hit a swoon. It will. It'll hit a skid. But how they get out of that skid, how do they handle adversity? I think honestly, Judd, that's what I'm more curious. What happens when this team hits a skid?
Well, the thing with the Yo teams was this though. They would hit a skid and free fall. You can't free fall. Like you can have 5 games where you don't play well. But I think the difference is, and it of course remains to be seen. I think the difference is the Folignos of the world aren't going to allow this team to go literally 8 to 12 games where they just basically give up. That was the problem. In fact, quickly before we wrap up here, Declan. So the Wild's best start previous to this, 2006, 2007. That team started 9-1-0. 9-1-0. And if you recall, that's the team that in late March of 2007 went to Colorado and lost 2-1, and I believe was on the verge of being knocked out of the playoffs. And then in typical Wild furious rally fashion, they won back-to-back games against the Oilers. They beat St. Louis, and they finished in the playoffs, I believe. But the fact is they almost blew it. And I'm going through the schedule here, and there were far too many ups and downs and ups and downs. So I think they'll hit a skid, this team for sure. They'll probably hit 2. But what they won't do is that skid won't turn into a free fall. So that's the most important thing. I'm so tired of that. All right, we are done. Say your piece, Declan Goff.
Pass, shoot, score. Rate, subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment. This is Mackie and Judd and Declan for this show. On this show, it's very simple. We want cups. That's all we want. We just want some